Welcome back to Lyrics to Go. I'm Daniel Maté, and this is part 2 of my French language lyrics episode.
Et c'est ma mère ou la vôtre, une sorcière comme les autres.
Well, this next song I've known for much of my life. I mentioned my parents had some French LPs in their collection, and this was one. This is a song by a French songwriter and singer, Sylvestre. The version that I know the best and that I frankly prefer to the original is by a Québécois chanteuse named Pauline Julien. What can I say about this song? It's maybe one of my top 10 favorite lyrics of all time by anyone. The music also is gorgeous, but we're going to focus on the lyric and how it tells this story. So what is this story? Well, it's a little bit oblique, but not so oblique that we can't draw some meaning from it. It's told by an unnamed woman. And one thing that seems clear in the lyric is that she represents many different women, many different kinds of women, probably across cultures and across historical eras. She's speaking very archetypically. And we'll see that the lyric in one particular section lists a whole litany of different incarnations of womanhood, different kinds of women, different personalities, different social roles, but is drawing a commonality between all of them. And the song is called Une sorcière comme les autres, which means a witch or a sorceress like all the rest. Now, if the Jacques Brel song has an ornate structure that's very impressive, the architecture of this edifice is even more incredible. We're looking at, again, 3 stanzas overall, that is 3 identically structured sequences of sections. But within that, there are 5 different sections that I can discern at least. So I'll call them A through E, and they are remarkably consistent in their structure and their function across the song. Let's get into the content of what these A sections are doing. They are all instructions or pleas to whoever the listener is. And we start gathering that this sort of archetypical woman is singing to an archetypical man, or men, plural, as a collective. So here in the first A, s'il vous plaît, soyez comme le duvet. So there's our first rhyming couplet. That means, please be like a comforter, be like a duvet. You know that word, duvet. Soyez comme la plume d'oie des oreillers d'autrefois. Be like the goose down of the pillows of yesteryear. Quite an image. So she's looking for softness and pliancy and lightness. And she mentions lightness in a second. J'aimerais ne pas être portefeuille. I would like not to be your porter. So she's starting to introduce notions of carrying weight, of burden. S'il vous plaît, faites-vous léger. Please make yourself light. Moi, je ne peux plus bouger, because me, I can no longer move.
S'il vous plaît, soyez comme le duvet, soyez comme la plume d'oie des oreillers d'autrefois. J'aimerais ne pas être portefeuille. S'il vous plaît, faites-vous léger. Moi, je ne peux plus bouger.
Now, what's interesting is that, of course, in French, vous is the formal singular you. So if you're talking to an elder or, someone sort of above you in terms of their social station, you would use vous as opposed to the more familiar tu. But vous is also the plural second person. So she might be speaking to a single man, like a king or a lord or someone with power over her. It's also very likely that she's speaking to, as I said, many men at once, or to sort of mankind in the gendered sense. Then we move into a B section, and the music picks up the pace. There is now a steady rhythm. Sort of like the Jacques Brel song, there's something kind of martial about it. You can feel a kind of marching rhythm, but it's a very slow march. It's almost a death march.
Je vous ai porté vivant, je vous ai porté enfant. Dieu, comme vous étiez lourd, pesant votre poids d'amour. Je vous ai porté.
Generally speaking, in the B section, she is listing all of the services she's provided in the past. It's sort of a catalog of her selfless sacrifices that she has provided for the greater good or for the pleasure of men, but anything but her own self-expression, her own authentic self. And she continues, je vous ai porté encore. There's that verb, porter, to carry. I carried you once more. À l'heure de votre mort, at the hour of your death, je vous ai porté des fleurs, je vous ai morcelé mon cœur. I carried flowers for you, and I parceled out my heart for you. I divided myself up into different parts. I split myself into many different people. And right there on that last line, the melody lifts a little higher and we're lifted into the C section. And here it gets a little more specific. She basically starts saying, when this happened, I was like this. When this happened, I provided this.
Quand vous jouiez à la guerre, moi je gardais la maison. J'ai usé de mes prières les barreaux de vos prisons. Quand vous mouriez sous les bombes, je vous cherchais en hurlant. Me voilà comme une tombe et tout le malheur dedans.
Here I am like a grave or even like a tomb with all of the unhappiness that it contains inside of it. Last thing to notice about this C section, that second last line of it is consistent across the whole song. There's a me voilà, which means here am I. And then there's a simile. She compares herself to something. So here it's a grave. In the second verse, it's a church or a steeple. Me voilà comme une église, toute la honte dessous, with all the shame underneath. That's a spicy line, especially in a Catholic country like France. Now the D section is split into two equal parts. They are identical in terms of music and in terms of rhyme scheme, and they always start out respectively with the same two lines. The first part goes, ce n'est que moi, c'est elle ou moi, which means it's just me, it's her or me. A kind of self-effacement in that, and also a depersonalization. This is where we start to get this sense that she's speaking for way more human beings, way more women than just herself. It's only me, it's her or me. And then we have these four lines where she starts kind of doing either or.
Ce n'est que moi, c'est elle ou moi, celle qui parle ou qui se tait, celle qui pleure ou qui est gaie, c'est Jeanne d'Arc ou bien Margot, fille de vague ou de ruisseau, et c'est mon cœur.
So these first two lines of the second half of the D are always, et c'est mon cœur ou bien le leur, which means, and it's my heart, or else it's their heart. And then she has a nice little internal rhyme here, et c'est la sœur ou l'inconnu, celle qui n'est jamais venue. And that means, and it's the sister, could mean the nun, but I think here it means the, the sister, the close relative, ou l'inconnu, or the unknown, the stranger. Celle qui n'est jamais venue, the one who never came. Celle qui est venue trop tard, she who came too late. Fille de rêve ou de hasard, girl of dreams or girl of happenstance. And then finally, we have this little E section, which is just two lines which rhyme with each other, and they're always the same. Et c'est ma mère ou la vôtre, une sorcière comme les autres. And it's my mother, or it's your mother, a witch like all the others. That almost rhymes in English. So we've gone through one stanza, A, B, C, D, E, and we're a third of the way through the song. So I think what I'll do here is I'll sort of let the second stanza play, and then I'll stop it midway through, and we'll just kind of talk about what's the same and what's different, and how the arc of the story is progressing as we get into this second stanza.
Il faut être comme le ruisseau, comme l'eau claire de l'étang qui reflète et qui attend. S'il vous plaît, regardez-moi, je suis vrai, je vous prie, ne me vantez pas, vous l'avez tant fait déjà.
So there's a slight difference in tone here. It doesn't start with a s'il vous plaît. It starts with something more emphatic, il vous faut, which means you must. But similar to in the first A, she's basically laying out metaphors of what she wants her listener, this man or these men, to be like. Now, if the first B section was about, I did all these things for you in all these different circumstances, this second B section and the C section as well are about how you treated me in return, like what I got for my kindness and my steadfastness and my patience.
Vous m'avez aimée servante, m'avez voulu ignorante, forte, vous me combattiez, faible, vous me méprisiez, vous m'avez aimée putain et couverte de satin, vous m'avez faite statue, et toujours je me suis tue, quand j'étais vieille et trop laide, vous me jetiez au rebut, vous me refusiez votre aide quand je ne vous servais plus. Quand j'étais belle et soumise, vous m'adoriez à genoux. Me voilà comme une église, toute la honte dessous. Ce n'est que moi.
So once again, the second D section starts with, it's only me, it's her or me, and then a whole bunch of other either or lines.
Ce n'est que moi, c'est elle ou moi, celle qui aime ou n'aime pas, celle qui règne ou qui se bat, c'est Joséphine ou la Dupont, fille de nacre ou de coton.
So across classes, across statuses, I'm speaking for her.
Celle qui attend sur le port, celle des monuments aux morts, celle qui danse et qui en meurt, fille d'asphalte ou fille fleur. Et c'est ma mère ou la vôtre, une sorcière comme les autres.
Yeah, that line about celle qui danse et qui en meurt, she who dances and dies from it, makes me think of, say, the Crucible, where girls who express themselves in any natural pre-Christian way are severely punished and tarred as witches, which we see in the title of this song, une sorcière comme les autres. So now we arrive at the third stanza, and reasonable to wonder, where's she going to go with this in this third incarnation of all of these different sections, where here's where it starts to get, I think we can genuinely say, empowering. She starts making some positive requests and standing up for herself in a very powerful way.
J'étais celle qui attend, mais je peux marcher devant. J'étais la bûche et le feu, l'incendie aussi je peux. J'étais la déesse mère, mais je n'étais que poussière. J'étais le sol sous vos pas, et je ne le savais pas. Mais un jour la terre s'ouvre, et le volcan n'en peut plus. Le sol se rompt, on découvre des richesses inconnues. La mer à son tour divague de violence inemployée. Me voilà comme une vague, vous ne serez pas noyé.
It's pretty remarkable. It's deeply moving, I think. We've gone from martyrdom in the first stanza to victimhood in the second one. I mean, legitimate victimhood. I'm not talking about self-pity here. I mean, these are real wrongs that were done to this woman or these women. And finally, in the third stanza, we've gone to self-assertion and a reclamation of one's own power as a woman and as a human being. What's interesting, though, is that it ends with a kind of reassuring line. Me voilà comme une vague, vous ne serez pas noyé. You will not be drowned by the wave that I am. Well, what could that possibly mean? In some ways, it diffuses the sense of threat, or certainly diffuses the sense of vengeance, like I'm coming for your ass, motherfucker. It's not like that. It's more like you're going to have to deal with me as I am, and I have no intention of swallowing you up. You don't have to fear me, but you do have to deal with me. You have to see me for who I am. And assuming you do, you will not be drowned. And maybe we can, see each other on the other side of the storm and find a way to live together finally. Just want to say a few things about the rhyming in this song, and possibly in French lyrics in general, although I'm not an expert. The rhyming is very precise. You don't hear near rhymes. Like in English, there's a lot of cutting corners. You'll hear people rhyming time with mind or change and same, which is a pet peeve of mine. You don't really need to do that in French because the ending sounds are spread out fairly democratically across the vocabulary, across the lexicon, that you can always find usually a precise match, or at least that's how it seems to be. There's also a really cool use of homophones, which is using the exact same syllable sound, maybe with a different spelling or just with a different meaning. You hear this in hip-hop a fair bit. Rappers like Kendrick Lamar will do it a lot, where they'll take one word and then they'll either repeat that word using a different meaning of the word, or they'll take a word that sounds exactly the same without even changing the consonant at the beginning, which is what rhymes usually do. So for instance, earlier in the song, she said, comme l'eau claire de l'étang qui reflète et qui attend. Those two temps sound identical. They're spelled differently to get that vowel sound. The spelling is different. And then here in this last verse that we just looked at, j'étais le sol sous vos pas et je ne le savais pas. In this case, it's the exact same spelling, but a totally different meaning. In one case, pas means steps. I was the ground beneath your feet or your steps, as in faux pas, a false step. But then there's also pas as in not. It's the negative, the negating, and I didn't know it. Je ne le savais pas. I don't know. I just think that's kind of interesting. So we could end on that note and it would be very triumphant. You know, it would be like that Milk song, I Won't Keep Quiet. But whatever this vision is of a triumphant ending or redemption, we're not there yet. We've just been singing about it for like 6-7 minutes, but that doesn't mean it's happened. So she brings us back to earth, back to the present moment, which I think is very powerful. And she just echoes some lines from earlier in the song, s'il vous plaît. She repeats please twice. S'il vous plaît, faites-vous léger. Moi, je ne peux plus bouger. Please make yourself light. I can no longer move. So I just think the lyric is a huge accomplishment, certainly the most powerful feminist lyric I've ever read or heard. And like I said, up there in the top 5 or 10 lyrics, period, that I've ever encountered. You know, it's really quite something to bite off this big, an architectural challenge when you have this many sections and this much length, and then to fill it with this much formal rigor, such a sense of structure, such a sense of tone, beautiful sense of language. You can hear, even if you don't speak French, how beautiful these rhymes are and how she just makes the most of these phonemes that you only get in French. I can't say anything more about it other than it's just magnifique. Okay, I'm going to do something I don't normally do for my outro here, which is to play you an entire song uninterrupted. I'm going to play you the version that Sylvestre and Pauline Julien recorded together. I believe it was in 1988. It's a live version. And I think it combines the best of both of these women's arrangements and phrasings and approaches. And just to hear both of their voices trading off lyrics, it's really incredible. And it adds to the effect of this song, which is clearly meant to represent more than just one individual voice. One thing to listen for as you're listening to it, and I hope reading along with the lyrics, I know this is not a music channel, but sometimes I can't help myself. Just the chord progressions and the melodies here are so classic, you know, especially like in the C sections, you've got da 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 da. So that's very, you know, almost Bach-like. And then we also have in the D section, same thing. Da 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 da. I don't know if that's so classical, but it's certainly classic. And I don't know. It's hard to think of a song that's more immaculately constructed and deeply lyrically moving than this one. So, bon appétit.
Je m'appelle du nom de la première sorcière brûlée en 1258.
Je m'appelle du nom des 7 millions de sorcières brûlées vives jusqu'en 1782.
Je m'appelle du nom de chacune des héritières de ces sorcières.
Je m'appelle Pauline Julien.
Je m'appelle Anne Sylvestre. s'il vous plaît.
Soyez comme le duvet, soyez comme la plume d'oie des oreillers d'autrefois.
J'aimerais ne pas être portefeuille, s'il vous plaît, faites-vous léger. Moi je ne peux plus bouger.
Je vous ai porté vivant, je vous ai porté enfant.
Dieu, comme vous étiez lourd, pesant votre poids d'amour.
Je vous ai porté encore à l'heure de votre mort.
Je vous ai porté des fleurs, vous émancelez mon cœur.
Quand vous jouiez à la guerre, moi je gardais la maison.
J'ai usé de mes prières les barreaux de vos prisons.
Quand vous mouriez sous les bombes, je vous cherchais en hurlant.
Me voilà comme une tombe et tout le malheur dedans.
Ce n'est que moi,
c'est elle ou moi.
celle qui parle ou qui se tait, celle qui pleure ou qui est gaie.
C'est Jeanne d'Arc ou bien Margot, fille de vagues ou de ruisseaux.
Et c'est mon cœur,
ou bien le leur.
et c'est la sœur ou l'inconnue, celle qui n'est jamais venue.
Celle qui est venue trop tard, fille de rêve ou de hasard.
Et c'est ma mère,
ou la vôtre,
une sorcière comme les autres.
Il vous faut être comme le ruisseau, comme l'eau claire de l'étang qui reflète et qui attend.
S'il vous plaît, regardez-moi, je suis vrai, je vous prie, ne m'inventez pas. Vous l'avez tant fait déjà.
Vous m'avez aimée servante, m'avez voulu ignorante.
Forte, vous me combattiez, faible, vous me méprisiez.
Vous m'avez aimée putain et couverte de satin.
Vous m'avez fait statue et toujours je me suis tue.
Quand j'étais vieille et trop laide, vous me jetiez au rebut.
Vous me refusiez votre aide quand je ne vous servais plus.
Quand j'étais belle et soumise, vous m'adoriez à genoux.
Me voilà comme une église, toute la honte dessous.
Ce n'est que moi,
c'est elle ou moi,
celle qui aime ou n'aime pas, celle qui règne ou qui se bat.
c'est Joséphine ou la Dupont, fille de nacre ou de coton.
Et c'est mon cœur,
ou bien le leur,
celle qui attend sur le port, celle des monuments aux morts.
celle qui danse et qui en meurt, fille d'asphalte ou fille fleur.
Et c'est ma mère,
ou la vôtre,
une sorcière comme les autres.
S'il vous plaît, soyez comme je vous ai rêvé depuis longtemps, libre et fort comme le vent.
Libre aussi, regardez, je suis ainsi. Apprenez-moi, n'ayez pas peur. Pour moi, je vous sais par cœur.
J'étais celle qui attend, mais je peux marcher devant.
J'étais la bûche et le feu, l'incendie aussi je peux.
J'étais la déesse mère, mais je n'étais que poussière.
J'étais le seul sous vos pas, et je ne le savais pas.
Mais un jour la terre s'ouvre et le volcan n'en peut plus.
Le sol se rompant découvre des richesses inconnues.
Ma mère à son tour divague de violence inemployée.
Me voilà comme une vague, vous ne serez pas noyé.
Ce n'est que moi,
c'est elle ou moi.
et c'est l'ancêtre ou bien l'enfant, celle qui cède ou se défend.
C'est Gabrielle ou bien Eva, fille d'amour, de combat.
Et c'est mon cœur,
ou bien le leur,
celle qui est dans son printemps, celle que personne n'attend.
et c'est la moche ou c'est la belle, fille de brume ou de plein ciel.
Et c'est ma mère,
ou la vôtre,
une sorcière comme les autres.
s'il vous plaît.
S'il vous plaît, faites-vous léger.
Moi je ne peux